Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you've ever found yourself staring at a beautifully crafted press release that just completely failed to get any traction, well, you are in exactly the right place. We've all felt that sting, right? Today, we're breaking down exactly how to secure Tier 1 media coverage in the UK using the Time Intelligence Media Group methodology. We're going to move completely past all that traditional marketing jargon and look at what it actually takes to earn your place in national newspapers and major broadcast brands.
So let's dive right in by asking the billion-dollar question, the one that frustrates PR specialists and executives literally every single day. You know the drill. You've got a genuinely great product, your team has worked tirelessly for months on the launch, you send out this grand announcement to hundreds of journalists across the UK, and all you hear is crickets. Just nothing. So why does this happen? Why do editors at top-tier outlets seem to just hit delete the literal second your email lands in their inbox?
Well, here's the harsh reality of the UK media landscape. If your pitch reads like an advertisement, it is dead on arrival. Top-tier outlets, they aren't here to give you free advertising space. They will immediately reject generic corporate announcements or, overt marketing that's just masquerading as news. They are hunting for stories with clear evidence, narratives that connect to real-world trends, and information that actually matters to their readers today. Because at the end of the day, their priority is their audience, not your bottom line.
To fix this disconnect, we really need to look at things strictly through the journalist's lens. So here's our roadmap for doing just that. First, we'll cover the newsworthiness reality check. Second, the anatomy of a brand story. Third, human impact and relevance. Fourth, structuring the perfect pitch. And finally, measuring true editorial success.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the newsworthiness reality check.
The truth is, editors really don't care about a Me Too product launch. They care about timeliness and relevance. For a brand story to be considered truly newsworthy in the UK, it has to fit effortlessly into an existing conversation. You've got to ask yourself, is your story linked to a recent UK-wide policy change? Does it highlight a fascinating shift in consumer behavior? Or maybe it addresses an economic challenge that large groups of people are facing right now. When you anchor your brand to these broader societal trends, you instantly transform from just a vendor trying to sell something into a highly relevant news source offering real valuable insights. And you can really see the stark contrast here. On one side, you have what brands usually send out, overt marketing packed with heavy sales language, claims that a product is revolutionary or game-changing, and forced calls to action. Let me tell you, editors absolutely hate this. On the other side is where you need to pivot, brand storytelling. You have to build a clear narrative arc of challenge, tension, and resolution. You back it all up with verified evidence. And surprisingly, admitting your limitations actually makes you appear much more trustworthy and authentic to a journalist. It shows you live in the real world.
Which brings us to Section 2, Anatomy of a Brand Story. Let's talk about concrete numbers.
To catch an editor's eye, vague claims just won't cut it. You need quantifiable change. A hard number is headline material. Take the number 500, for example. Showing that your brand created 500 new UK jobs gives journalists a concrete, verified figure that they can cite directly in their reporting. It paints this vivid picture of economic growth and local impact that simply cannot be ignored or brushed off as PR fluff. Or consider 30%. Perhaps you have data demonstrating that your new operational model reduced energy use by 30% across the board. These kinds of quantifiable metrics signal immediate newsworthiness. Why? Because they prove that a real, measurable impact has actually taken place, moving you entirely out of the realm of corporate theory and straight into the territory of hard facts.
But concrete numbers are really just the starting line. UK news outlets will rigorously test your credibility before publication. They're looking for specific, essential evidence to verify your claims. Things like original research, third-party validation so they know it isn't just your word, and real names attached to statements. So yeah, no anonymous corporate spokespeople allowed. If you deliver this in plain language without overblown claims, you establish unshakable authority. A story built on rock-solid evidence is exactly what an editor needs to confidently hit publish.
Moving on to Section 3, Human Impact and Relevance. The human element. So we know data tells, but human impact is what actually sells the story to the editor. UK journalists highly favor grounded voices. Notice how a quote like this isn't from some detached CEO, it's from a small business owner whose daily life actually improved. When you pair your impressive metrics with a real-world quote like this, the story becomes infinitely more compelling. It shifts the focus away from the product itself and puts it right onto the real people whose lives and livelihoods are being positively impacted.
Now, let's talk about local relevance. Tying your story to national policy like tax rules or regional infrastructure makes up a huge chunk of what gets published.
Look, if you write a generic release for a global audience, a UK editor is going to spot it instantly and delete it just as fast. But if you reference specific UK regulations, local community projects, or NHS impacts, you hand them a pre-packaged angle tailored directly for their readers. It proves without a doubt that you understand the local market.
Let's move to Section 4, structuring the perfect pitch using the inverted pyramid.
This brings us to a really crucial technique, the inverted pyramid method. Journalists are incredibly busy. You simply cannot bury the lead. In the very first 100 words, you absolutely must establish the core value, who you are, what the news is, and crucially, why it matters right now. Only after you do that should you expand into context with data, outlining the problem and the solution. And finally, you add depth with quotes from experts at the bottom. Think of it this way. If an editor can't grasp the entire value in that first paragraph, the rest of your meticulously crafted pitch, it just won't be read.
And this next rule, it is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to tailor the angle. Never blast a one-size-fits-all press release. Pitching a tech story? It goes to the technology desk. Consumer impact? Send it to the lifestyle or business desk. Customizing your narrative for a specific journalist's beat isn't just good manners. It shows respect for their valuable time and is truly the only way you're going to build a long-term, mutually beneficial media relationship.
Finally, Section 5, measuring true editorial success and your overall editorial impact.
When we break down how to actually measure this, there are three critical categories. First, volume and tier. Placements in Tier 1 national newspapers carry significantly more weight than low-authority niche sites. Second, shared framing. Are multiple outlets actually adopting your specific angles, language, and quotes? Because if they are, you are successfully controlling the narrative. Finally, downstream metrics. A successful feature should translate into measurable business outcomes. We're talking about spikes in brand search volume, a surge in website traffic, and real, tangible lead generation. That is exactly how you prove that brand storytelling is a powerful investment, and not just an expense.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about your next pitch. Will it be just another piece of overt marketing, easily ignored and deleted? Or will you put in the work to craft a data-rich, human-centric story that fits the current UK news cycle perfectly? Keep this framework in your back pocket before you draft your next announcement, and think deeply about whether you are offering compelling news or just adding to the noise. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you completely rethink how you approach the media.